distinguished friends on the dais, including the author. Dear friends, I'm really very pleased to join you all today at the launch of Dr. Vikram Sampath's book, Tipu Sultan, the Saga of Mysore 1761 to 1799. Let me begin by conveying my felicitations to the author for yet another significant contribution to a better understanding of our past. Indeed, to the publishers, to the Prabha Khaitan Foundation, and of course to the India Habitat Center, without which this evening would not be possible. About this book, to call it would be a serious understatement, because it is something very much more, capturing not just the flavor of a fast-moving, but offering insights into politics, strategy, administration, sociology, and even diplomacy. It is both granular in its detail and creative in many ways in its, making the reader a fly in the wall in Tipu Sultan's palace. There is an honesty as well as an objectivity, I think, in Vikram's approach. And in this case, that would not have been entirely easy. In fact, if you ever have an American edition to this book, I would suggest the subtitle, "Everyone know about Tipu Sultan but were afraid to ask." Now, Tipu Sultan, by any standards, is a complex figure in our history. On the one hand, he has the reputation as a key figure who resisted the imposition of British colonial control over India. It is a fact that his defeat and death can be considered a turning point when it came to the fate of peninsular India. At the same time, he evokes strong adverse sentiments, even in many regions, by some in Mysore itself, in Coorg, and in Malabar. Contemporary history writing, certainly at the national level, has focused largely on aspect, underplaying, if not neglecting, the latter. And let's be honest, this was not an accident. Now, history is complicated, and the politics of the day often indulges in cherry-picking facts. To a considerable extent, that has happened in the case by highlighting the Tipu English binary to the exclusion of a more complicated reality. A particular narrative has been advanced over the years. Dr. which all of you would read when you read the book, I think is a very blunt reminder of that particular debate. This book, therefore, has value because what it does is it not only presents facts about Tipu Sultan for the reader to make his or her own judgment, but it also, this is very important, it also brings out the context in all its intricacy. In that process, I can see that Vikram would have had many challenges of orthodoxy to overcome, and are not specific to the treatment of Tipu Sultan. How much of our past has been airbrushed, how awkward issues have been glossed over, how facts are tailored for regime convenience, the basic questions which confront us all today. As a product myself of an institution that was at the center of these politically driven endeavors, I can well appreciate the need to present an accurate representation of history. In the last decade, the changes in our political dispensation have the emergence of alternative perspectives and balanced accounts. We are no longer prisoners of a vote bank, nor is it politically incorrect to bring out inconvenient truths. Obviously, there are many more subjects on which the same degree of objectivity is needed. So how exactly we characterize Tipu Sultan? That is the conundrum that this work addresses. Now, there can be no doubt that Tipu was fiercely and almost consistently anti-British. How much of it was inherent? How much a result of their allying with his local rivals? That I think is very difficult to distinguish. To counter British ambitions, Tipu Sultan had no hesitation in French. That actually makes a straightforward anti-foreign narrative very difficult to assert. At various points, he also reached out to the rulers of Afghanistan and of Persia for faith-based support. Perhaps the truth is that the sense of nationhood that all of us have now was simply not there then. When identities and awareness are so different at that time, force-fitting them into a contemporary construct seems more than a little challengeable. It could well be asked whether Tipu anti-foreigner per se, or confronting those who were an impediment to his aggrandizement. Now, more touching are related issues pertaining to Tipu's own treatment of his own people and those of neighboring kingdoms. As the author has vividly brought out, Mysore, the Kodavas, and those in Malabar and those in Travancore, they still carry deep scars from their experiences of Tipu's rule. If the Mandyam Iyengars as a day of mourning, there is good reason to do so. There are Tipu's own writings, communications, and of course actions that attest to his mindset. Indeed, even his diplomatic activities reflect identity in strongest terms. The author, in my view, has been sensible in opening them up all to daylight. After all, revealing then the self-description of rulers, the nature of their orders, and the content of their own conversations. Undoubtedly, there will be policies, incidents, and events of a contradictory nature. At the end of the day, this larger assessment of Tipu's character has to get that balance right. As from the diplomatic world, I was really struck, and I'm most grateful to you for that, by information and insights which were provided in this volume about Tipu's foreign policy. We have tended to mainly study post-independent foreign policy. Who knows, perhaps this too was a conscious choice. But the fact is, kingdoms and our states forayed into international affairs in previous centuries in pursuance of their particular interests. And some, by the way, continue to do so even. The interactions of Tipu's emissaries with their French and Turkish counterparts is really fascinating. I don't want to tell my two diplomatic colleagues what happened to his emissaries when they did not succeed. They will discover it, and I think, Ambassador, you should take note too. But Tipu's expectations and the incentives that he actually offers them, it actually tells us something about his mindset. There are, by the way, lessons as well about the importance of accurately understanding on crucial occasions. Tipu was actually caught on the wrong side of events in France. And I must say this, Vikram, I did not know till I read the book that Napoleon Sultan, it's a different matter that he never got those letters. Ironically, the British, as is their habit, stole many things. So, ironically, Tipu's own fate was decided largely by diplomacy, since the British an all-encompassing coalition. That he was left so friendless at the end should itself be a cause for introspection. So I now leave it to distinguished panelists to offer their views. But let me just conclude by saying this, that the importance of open-minded scholarship and a genuine debate are central as a pluralistic society and a vibrant democracy. I thank you all for your attention.